Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, Fugue is almost out. I've shared plenty enough of my opinion about Fugue, but I feel as though there's nothing much else to say on a macro level. Instead of chattering about her viability like usual, I decided to lay out a top 5 list of the greatest benefactors of Fugue in no particular order. I know it's kind of weird that I put top, but I don't rank them. Just go with it, please. Anyway, I'm not gonna waste your time. Let's go down to this video. First is Acheron. Despite Acheron not being too much of a synergistic character for the Super Break playstyle, she has Omni Toughness Shred on her ult, but that's pretty much it. It actually does gain something very useful from Fugue. Since Fugue can use her skill to allow any ally to lay down a defense shred debuff, you can essentially give more stacks to Acheron by putting it on a high frequency attack sustain. For example, Ling Sha with Fugue's skill buff can apply the defense shred on Ling Sha's skill, and again on Ling Sha's follow-up, and maybe on her emergency heal if the enemy hits hard enough, which should be pretty easy. If you don't have Fugue, you won't get any stacks unless you break, but with Fugue, you are guaranteed a minimum of 3 stacks for Acheron's ultimate. Same principle with any high frequency attack sustain like Gallagher or a no signature Aventurine. You can even use a prayer on Acheron herself, even though it's not optimal. You can simulate the stack generation of Acheron's signature light cone if you don't have it. The extra super break damage is of course very relevant still, since Acheron's best sustain can also deal a good amount of toughness damage and super break damage on their own, again, Ling Sha and Gallagher. Or your other Nihilities can also deal super break damage if you roll enough into break effect like the Knife and Arpela. Of course, if you have Zhao Cho, Fugue can't really replace him. Zhao Cho is strictly a better stack generator and ult damage enabler, but Fugue, if you look at her strictly as a slot for your Acheron teams, Fugue can be a good enough replacement for Zhao Cho if you do not have Zhao Cho. Fugue can be a great substitute if your Robin or Sparkle or Sunday has to be on the second side instead of your Acheron side, which is quite useful. Next is Boothill. Now, Boothill's biggest matchup problem is ironically when Wave 1 actually has pretty chunky toughness bars. With 2 chunky enemies, Boothill's ramp up slows down pretty dramatically. Exo toughness may not alleviate the slowness of the first trick shot stack generation, but after the first trick shot stack generation, Boothill's stacks build up much faster due to exo toughness. And even if Boothill is already at max stacks, the fact that he can replicate his physical break damage twice in a single turn due to exo toughness is not insignificant at all. It actually hits pretty damn hard. Boothill is no secret a great super break character, but he can have trouble shaving AoE and if there's annoying enough enemies that you have to interact with. Fugue can help with that in short bursts with her ultimate to control smaller enemies, which is pretty good. If you aren't keen on Boothill's more, I guess let's say, technical gameplay, Fugue does make him less taxing to play if you are having implant problems with the fact that she can enable a colorless toughness damage shredding, which is a scenario that can happen for bosses like Xueyi who are pretty fast and can run through Boothill's implant debuff. Fugue does make Boothill more viable for his worst case scenarios and easier to play, which makes Fugue very valuable if you want to take your Boothill to more endgame modes with more consistent performances. Next is Xueyi. Xueyi, from a pure quality of life standpoint, benefits a lot from Fugue. One of Xueyi's biggest pitfalls ever since she was released was having pretty unimpressive performance without quantum weakness for anyone that's ever played her, which usually meant she was stuck with Ruan Mei and Silverwolf most of the time, and rarely she can use Harmony MC unless it's sustainless or again it's quantum weak. With Fugue, Xueyi is less reliant on Silverwolf, which is an overall good thing since State of Silverwolf isn't that good as an implant unit. Sorry. Added to that, Fugue dealing smaller toughness damage actually plays well with Xueyi's playstyle since she is quite selfish at wanting toughness bars. Super Break added to that means she can consolidate both Silverwolf and Harmony MC's roles in one slot. And of course, Exo toughness means Xueyi can do a lot more follow-ups and prevent her weakness of damage downtime during enemy break. I still would not advise Xueyi outside of Quantum Weak. She's a 4-star, she's already having enough trouble, but it's definitely a lot less painful and much easier to get away with if you pull Fugue. And do note that Xueyi does still want Ruan Mei because Xueyi may be too slow anyway at trading toughness for exo toughness to actually matter. Nevertheless, Fugue is a significant Xueyi upgrade as she tackles nearly every weakness Xueyi has in her weakest scenarios and consolidates almost everything Xueyi wants. And if you have E1 Fugue, now you have the complete Xueyi support package with just one unit, and you can now run a flexible third slot like let's say Sunday or Robin. In terms of strict flexibility and opening up so many teams for her, Fugue is almost invaluable to Xueyi, and consolidating that many roles means Xueyi is more free to run stronger support options like Sunday and other future supports. Next is Himeko. Exo Toughness doubles Himeko's follow-up stacks, and it's about as simple as you could get. Himeko, much like Xueyi, is also very synergistic with Super Break as an AoE death machine. Fugue has the same element as Himeko, which leads to less awkward resistance matchups compared to other characters. Enabling her to reduce toughness regardless is a pretty nifty tool if the smaller enemies aren't weak to fire, or if Himeko is struggling on her own, Fugue can help out with breaking on her ultimate. Replicating Fire Break is also a pretty big deal since initial Fire Break does hurt a lot. It's expected Himeko will gain a significant performance spike compared to Harmony MC, and just a great flexibility boost in general. I predict Fugue would be best in slot in practically any Himeko team that doesn't involve the usual pure fiction shenanigans like running Herta with her, which should be 2 out of 3 game modes, MOC, and Apocalyptic Shadow. Really, what's not to love? If you're a Himeko main, this is a really good pickup. Before the last unit I mentioned here, let's get some honorable mention. Firefly. Firefly doesn't get as much as others in this list. This is only true if Firefly isn't E2, because with Exo Toughness you can get your extra turn setups much easier at a high investment Firefly. Plus, they have the same element. If we consider E2 Firefly, she would get a lot more from Fugue compared to Himeko. But compared to others on this list, she doesn't need Fugue nearly as much because she's just that over. Lingsha. I wanted to put her here for fun, but I can't in good consciousness advise this. If the enemy isn't fire weak, then Lingsha has problems doing her own damage. With Fugue, she can finally do more damage personally and can be a replacement for Ron Mei in non-fire weak content. Even in Lingsha depth collector setups, this should be really good, but be aware that it's kind of a meme and I don't want you to pull Fugue just for this interaction. But if you're going for Fugue anyway and you already have these pieces of the puzzle, it's a funny team that I can recommend, and it actually works. Now the last character of this top 5 list is Rappa, the most obvious one. I think a lot of people would say benefits the most out of Fugue. There's a pretty big reason they shield Rappa with Exo Toughness and Memories of Chaos. Rappa gains the Super Break equivalent of more multipliers when toughness bars are broken. And what better character than Fugue for replicating more toughness bars? Rappa is also much easier to run with Fugue than without her since each break gives her energy, which lends to more comfortable ult rotations. While Fugue's colorless damage buff doesn't stack favorably like you would think, Fugue does help out with toughness damage on her own ultimate. I'm pretty sure you've seen the videos from people better than me. It really is that simple. Rappa gets a lot of multiplier increases that no other character can get. If we consider the previous choices, Himeko may be able to avoid Fugue in pure fiction, but Rappa is so well tuned to Fugue's mechanics that pretty much in any scenario, you will use Fugue with Rappa due to the sheer performance spike. Doesn't matter what the piece of content is, Apocalyptic Shadow, Pure Fiction, Memories of Chaos, any of those game modes, you want to use Fugue with Rappa. Rappa is the single biggest Fugue salesman in Star Rail. But wait, the video isn't over, I lied to you. Because there is one character that does gain a lot from Fugue that you could argue is better than Rappa, the Trailblazer. If you have so far built your account around Super Break, Fugue is a pretty safe investment because the Trailblazer will be able to use whatever path they want. And since there will be more paths for Trailblazer in the future, it does mean Trailblazer will get progressively more attractive options to be run on other teams outside Super Break and make Harmony MC less desirable. Having Fugue will allow you to run the liberty of any Trailblazer path in one team and Super Break on the other side with Fugue on the other. You can also run both Trailblazer and Fugue in the same team to stack Super Break damage. If Trailblazer themselves gets a path that makes them a Super Break carry, I don't know how this would happen, but it's possible, then that's even more reason to pull Fugue. If nothing else, pulling for Fugue allows you to run more Trailblazer paths, which can be very relevant in the long run if the Trailblazer gets stronger in a different team in the future. That's all for the video about the best winners of Fugue's kit. I will be pulling Fugue myself on my American account because of Boothill and Acheron, but not on Asia since I'm focusing on the summon meta there. And thanks to that, I feel the need to say this. Pulling Fugue is not needed at all, and her value is pretty variable to whether or not you see yourself caring about Super Break past 3.0. If your account is like my Asia account, then her value really isn't that high, it's not all that. But if you still want to spam Super Break and break based characters, then she's really high value. You could argue she's a must pull. But yeah, I hope this video was entertaining and informative. I'll see you later. Like, subscribe, do what I don't need to tell you, okay? Just do all of that stuff. Bye bye.